A very good morning. 9th of March, 2016, the day after International Women's Day. We're just a day from the announced boycott by the Forum for Democratic Change. The Thursday, starting tomorrow, and going on for the next couple of Thursdays until the situation gets better. Those who espouse the values, the virtues, and whatever else that the FDC does believe in quest of their desires, should stay away from work, should stay away from town, should just keep closed in their houses and do nothing at all as a boycott. But they also take it further. Should you be at home, not at work, that radio starts playing a song by one of the musicians that did support President Museveni, the presidential card bearer for the NRM, perhaps switch it off or break it into pieces. Who knows? It could get that desired level. And the questions are coming in hard and fast. Is this a feasible campaign? Does it really speak to the democratic credentials for which the FDC would love to be held on a high pedestal for? What exactly does this campaign mean? Strangely with us, but also interestingly, we have a guest in studio who is not a member of the Forum for Democratic Change, but someone who's going to give us a bit of a perspective to what the other side receives this kind of boycott as. We'll be right back. It's the big story. Ofwono Opondo, you are the director of the Government Media Center, but you're also the spokesperson for the National Resistance Movement Party. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Simon.
Tomorrow, certainly, you'll be coming to work, and many like you will certainly be going about your day-to-day business. But the Forum for Democratic Change is telling Ugandans of the alignment that they have to boycott and stay home. How does NIM receive this?
Well, first of all, the purported boycott announced by Mr. Semojunganda is allegedly because they dispute the outcome of the presidential elections. In the same press conference, Semoju says they respect the Constitution of Uganda. Now, if you respect the Constitution of Uganda, there are prescribed ways by which you dispute elections. You go to courts of law. They have chosen not to do that, and they have decided to have the defiance, which was their campaign platform. This announcement is coming belatedly because initially FDC had sought to have a fully blown out violent reaction should Kizza Besigye not win the election, and therefore it wouldn't have been announced.
How do you know that?
From credible intelligence information that have been provided, that has been provided to me.
You know, that's the standard script for somebody who's trending on speculation. Because how can we believe? How should we believe?
I speak for the government of Uganda, as you know, and therefore I am privy to some intelligence briefing.
But it also means that for some most part, you also will tell glaring lies because you know that you are not at liberty to disclose who your sources are.
Well, then you challenge me if I'm telling lies. And so the defiance campaign that will start tomorrow, if they choose, as Semoju said, to be peaceful in their homes, that will all be well, because that's what the Constitution of Uganda provides for. Peaceful protest, peaceful demonstration, whether in a public arena or at home. However, if they choose to go outside their home to obstruct other Ugandans who want to go about their businesses, then that would be crossing the red line, so to speak. But we don't think that this view is shared by the majority of FDC members. We don't think it is shared by a majority of the top leadership of the FDC. We think it is a small fringe of the FDC leadership led by Semoju and a coterie supported by perhaps Elias Lukwago.
Do you think
many Ugandans, many FDC members do private businesses? I doubt. If you have rented a premise, you have a shop, that you will close down the shop because you are in solidarity. Secondly,
Ofwono
many
Opondo,
of them
over there,
are employees.
Sorry, I must cut you short over
Yes.
there. There is a word called sacrifice. And it exists precisely for the fact that people are willing to go out of their usual comfort zone and put themselves in a situation that may in the short term inconvenience them, perhaps even into the middle term, but for the sake of achieving a long-term objective. So what makes you think that an FDC shop owner who strongly believes that they have been unfairly treated will not sacrifice a day in a week to close their shop in solidarity?
Well, that's why I'm saying we don't believe it is shared by a majority. Yes, there may be few who share that view, and therefore they will choose to stay home.
But see, many people will refuse to take your view.
I'm saying we don't believe so. Tomorrow is Thursday, is with us. Let us wait to see if Mr. Semuju will not drive his children to Kampala parents tomorrow. If
he has his children in Kampala parents?
I know that he has 2 children in Kampala parents. Let us wait. If he will choose to teach his children from home, he will not take them to school.
Perhaps they want to involve his children in his private political endeavors.
No. If you say you are not going to work, driving your children, taking your children to work, or asking your driver to take your children to work is part of the work. So it is there. But where is the history in Uganda? In 2009, you remember the debacle after the Kabaka was prevented from going to Kayunga. Elements from Mengo here in Buganda said they would not, they announced a boycott of section of the media that they deemed did not support, sympathetic with the government. Where did that go?
So Ofwono Opondo, you as your government.
Just a minute. Then they said this was a Banyankole affront against their Kabaka. And they announced a series of measures. 3 of them: boycott matoke from Mankole, boycott milk from Mankole, boycott beef from cows from Mankole. I am sure you know, as we say, the rest is history. That did not take place. So we really think that this is, the FDC has reached really
so this glee that you hold is buoyed by the fact that there has not been a precedent in Uganda that indicates that Ugandans are able to sustain a protracted demonstration. But what about the issue of setting precedents? What makes
not just precedent, but it is not viable, it is not justifiable. Majority of the FDC members who do business want to prosper.
No one will believe you because you don't speak for the FDC, and there is no way you would know what happens within the FDC.
I wouldn't expect anybody who goes into business with the intention, with the motive of failure.
Like I said, sacrifice is the word. Some people are willing to press the self-destruction button.
Dr. Kizza Besigye runs a series of petrol stations, as you know.
I do not know. You please inform me which one.
Well, we want to wait tomorrow. I can give you after this show a number of them, and you go tomorrow and check if those petrol stations will be closed down.
Ofwono Opondo, I'm glad that I have you on this show, possibly to pull you away from this discussion.
And whether the parent company will allow that outlet to close.
Which is the parent company? Why are you speaking in tongues and twists? I mean, you're here. You're a guy who boasts for having a no-hold-barred attitude.
For example, you know that Kizza Besigye runs Total. Zambia. Yes, Total, Zambia. The one next to the hospital, as you branch to the hospital. So go to there tomorrow and find out if that Total will actually close.
Ofwono Opondo, I'm glad that I have you here and to draw you away from this immediate discussion of tomorrow's boycott and to look at the general atmosphere of tension between you that won the election and the FDC that considers itself to have won the election but were robbed of the victory. There has been sections of folks that have come out to suggest that possibly this is a time when the two sides should be having a conversation. I know that the Constitution of Uganda does prescribe a winner takes it all kind of attitude or kind of, a dispensation. But don't you think that the similar tensions between the two camps requires some kind of reach out to each other, to draw confidence in each other and clearly send a message that Uganda is a country big enough for all of us, never mind the political differences. Now when you come here and make such boisterous statements that border on, on insulting or rubbing more salt in the wound of the FDC, does that really play positively into the spirit of reconciliation?
Every storm eventually subsides. The election storm is beginning to subside.
What makes you think so?
We really think that even the people who have strong passion that perhaps they were robbed, eventually will realize that since Dr. Chigundu published the results, the details of the results on the website, we would have expected them to pinpoint polling stations where results posted by Chigundu on his website are at variance with the results they do have.
Well, the argument is you stormed their headquarters, picked their documents which include that kind of evidence, locked them away, locked away their leaders, intimidated their leadership.
That's a false alibi.
You can't get their leader.
That's a false alibi because there are 28,010 polling stations. Each presidential candidate had 2 polling agents per station. In the case of Dr. Kizza Besigye, he even had the power 10. Unless you want to convince me that the government of Uganda has arrested all the 28,010 times 2, that's 56,000
we can't put it past your government. You are an incredible government. You do
56,000 people.
Arresting 60,000 people would be the least of your worries.
So really,
I'm afraid
the storm will subside. But what has been the practice of Yoweri Museveni, the leader of Uganda, of past 30 years ago, 30 years now, is reproachment. I'm sure just this past week, you read in the newspapers, Dr. Ruhakana, the Premier of Uganda, reaching out to the FDC. We really do believe that the big section of leadership of FDC, particularly those in Parliament, are having exchange with the NRM and other groups. And we believe that at the end of the day, there will be a constructive outcome.
If I get you right, so are you saying that there is a subterranean movement of conversations going on between the NRM and the FDC?
Yes, certainly.
At a level that we in the public domain are not being able to pick up?
I have just told you about Dr. Ruhakana.
Yes.
I know many other efforts. I know that
then how come you who are in the public domain, when you come out with a different message, so to speak?
Which different message? I'm the one who speaks for the government. I also speak for the NRM.
Your spirit, demeanor does not indicate that kind of
I've just told you about the standing practice of the NRM and of Yoweri Museveni, the leader of the country, over the past 30 years. The other one really is that it takes two to tango. We really want to appeal to our colleagues who have strong disagreements over the election outcome, that they should calm down and know that assuming they were robbed, there could be tomorrow. But remember also in 2011, we had in fact we had a worse scenario. We did not see FDC MPs elect boycotting their inauguration, their swearing in. We did not see FDC MPs accompanying Dr. Kizza Besigye in the walk to work. Why was that? Because there was engagement between the NRM side, the government side, and the majority of the FDC leaders and indeed membership in the country. That's why the walk to work actually eventually collapsed. We really do believe that that engagement is going on. We are going to rev up, and in not so distant future.
I'll come back to you, and the court of public opinion, the jury is still out there. They listen to statements made by factions of the NRM, including and not limited to yourself, the demeanor, the way you speak to them, the words that you use. Some of these words seem to be at variance with the kind of efforts that you're talking about. Someone who's reaching out for reconciliation or appreciation of each other's positions does not speak in a condescending, sometimes very
Simon, be specific. You asked me to be specific. Like which word have I used on this show this morning that is condescending, that doesn't show that I speak for reproachment? Which one?
As I get my thoughts ready on that, my technicians have done the windmill and they have run through what it takes to connect to Kasangati, and I'm happy to inform you that we have retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye online. Good morning, Colonel.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Colonel Kizza Besigye. I'm afraid I'm not getting you here, but kindly, if you hear me, good morning.
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Oh, yes, now I can hear you loud and clear. How is Kasangati on this wonderful Tuesday morning? Slightly over where we are at the conference center. How is it?
can only tell you what is inside my house, since I am not allowed to walk out of my house.
Dr. Kizza Besigye, indeed, for several weeks after the election, we indeed have not only received reports of you being incarcerated, but we know for a fact that you are incarcerated and limited access by different people to your house is still the order of the day. But today, we wake up to the fact that there has been a call for a boycott starting tomorrow and every Thursday. And there have been sections of people saying that is not your official position as an individual. It may not even be an official position of the party. Before we can discuss more about your personal situation at home, kindly weigh in on this boycott issue.
Well, I am sure you know that citizens of this country have a right to take any civic action they consider necessary or appropriate, and as long as it is within the law, to express themselves in terms of supporting anything or opposing or protesting anything. And therefore, I think that it is well within the rights of our people to as some people indeed have suggested, that people, it is well within the rights of any person to do so, to express their protest for whatever reason that they are protesting. In this case, I think the call was that they do so in sympathy and in demand that I regain my freedom. I have absolutely nothing against such an action.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kizza Besigye. So if I get you right, indeed, this is a position that you espouse, and this is a position that you are in full support, because after all, citizens, whichever political dispensation, or even citizens that believe in the Forum for Democratic Change, have every right to show their disdain over the situation as it pertains. Now, coming down to your...
Now, I would like, I think, to make a correction, that this kind of an action cannot be a partisan action, because this is simply an action that is being called in respect of human rights. Every person's rights is all people's rights, and therefore this cannot be a partisan action. It is simply a call for those who believe that this violation of rights that is being imposed on me should be protested, and who want to protest it in that way. It is a voluntary action on the part of those who want to protest in that form.
Dr. Kizza Besigye, obviously the government as it is since the time you got yourself involved in this politics from as early as 2001, a number of activities or actions have been meted unto you that indeed justify the fact that your rights have been trampled over and over again. You've been arrested multitude of times, you've been arraigned before courts of law on trumped up charges, you've been acquitted by the courts of law, you have sought redress from courts of law, you in fact have also taken the step of fleeing into exile. So much has happened in your political career over the last 1.5 decades. Today you find yourself besieged at your house. One would beg to ask, then what next for you? Are you going to sit in there and just remain a prisoner in your house, or you possibly have an A card that you are waiting to put on the table, perhaps seek legal redress, perhaps do something that we possibly do not know and we cannot pontificate. We don't rather put it to you for you to share with us what exactly it is that you possibly have up to your chest.
Well, as I'm sure you may have heard, as a person, I have gone to court again, because I had already gone to court in 2011 to challenge the illegal actions of the police, and I got an order from court in 2011. That court order is still, valid. What the police is doing now is in contempt of court, and I have gone to court again to seek for court protection against this wanton violation of my rights as a citizen. But let me say this, that
I'm afraid we seem to have had a freeze with the line to Dr. Kizza Besigye South by Skype. I would possibly blame it on you, Ofwono Opondo. I mean, if you can switch off social media on voting day, you disrupt mobile money and also things you are capable of doing, this kind of thing of sabotaging my interview, Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Well, the mobile money, the social media was switched off within the capability of the technology in the possession of the state.
Gladly we have gone beyond that, and now we are back to connection. Dr. Kizza Besigye, I'm afraid we did lose you a few minutes, just a couple of seconds ago. You could possibly just take us through that point that you were elucidating on.
Yes, I was simply saying that once you have a rogue regime that wantonly violates the rights of any citizen, then all citizens have the right and the duty to be concerned and to challenge what is going on, because anything that is visited on any citizen can be visited on you. I would like to draw the attention of your guests in the studio and all citizens and people out there who are watching this program to the Constitution of Uganda. It is Article 23 which talks about liberty of Uganda, and it says, and if I may just read it for you, it says, a person arrested, restricted, or detained shall be kept in a place authorized by law. Now, if I am detained or are restricted in any form, there is no way I can be kept in my house. My house is not an authorized place under the law to detain people. And the Constitution further says that a person that is indeed arrested in that kind of way must be produced in court within 24 hours, 48 hours if he has not been released before that time. These are very, very important provisions of the law that the police knows. The police is illegally detaining me in my house. The police has not produced me in court in spite of the fact that it's now 3 weeks. I think all citizens have a right and a duty to be concerned and to demand that this violation of the Constitution, this violation of the law stops.
Ofwono Opondo, you've heard Dr. Kizza Besigye there elaborately making his case that the government is holding him ultra vires. He speaks of court orders that he has sought that were granted, that police should not do what they are doing, and police is doing all this in total contempt of the dictates of the law. You speak for the government of Uganda.
Dr. Kizza Besigye says that go to the courts. Let's wait what the courts will rule.
No, but you see, the courts have ruled before there's an injunction against what's happening at his house, coming in from 2011, and it still holds today.
I am not so sure that that's the point, the position of the law, that if I sought an injunction 10 years ago, it remains in force today if I am held for a different matter. Like in this case, I do believe that. But
Dr. Kizza Besigye, one is unable to go to courts of law because of the following, because of these restrictions. He is denied, denied access to his counsel. He is denied access to.
He has access to his lawyers. He has access to his party officials. They can go to court on his behalf. So really,
let's listen to what he's saying, because certainly I'm sure he's in total disagreement with what you're saying.
It's not a lawful place of detention. It's not a gazetted place of detention. Let Mr. Opondo tell you whether my home can be a gazetted, a legal place of detention.
Thanks, Dr. Kizza Besigye. Indeed, you preempted my question to him. He's very clear. If anyone must be detained, they must be detained in a facility that is gazetted or named as such by the law. Is his home a detention center?
Obviously, his home is not a place of detention, but the police has found it convenient to keep him there. Now,
wait a minute. Right over there, Ofwono Opondo. So you mean the police now, beyond the dictates of the law, now chooses what is convenient for them? So next time what will they do? Choose another convenience and break the law?
Yes, I am saying so. And if Dr. Kizza Besigye thinks that the police has acted unfairly, outside the law, he has gone to court. Let us wait for what the court says.
Dr. Kizza Besigye, you hear Mr. Ofwono Opondo there saying that it is not that your home is a gazetted area of detention, but the police finds it only convenient to hold you there. I mean, without even preempting what you will answer to him, he's also putting a challenge before you that, if you consider to be wrongfully detained at your house, then seek legal redress. How possible is it for you to seek this legal redress that he keeps harping about from the situation that you are pertaining at your house now?
It is possible, and I have sought it. I have gone back to court, and the court has fixed 17th of this month to hear my present application. But, you know, be in no doubt that what Mr. Opondo is saying it well knowing that it's a violation of the Constitution, not just the law, that therefore he is serving a rogue regime, a regime that does not care at all about the law, domestic law, that does not care about international law. As you know, our regime has gone and violated international law, invaded other countries, and committed offenses there. So this is the regime that we are dealing with, and the duty is upon citizens. My appeal is not to Opondo, quite obviously. Opondo is a servant of the rogue regime. My appeal is to the law-abiding, reasonable citizens of Uganda, of other countries, that what is happening is dangerous for the world, and it must be stopped.
Thank you, Dr. Kizza Besigye there, and sorry we were having a bit of technical challenges with regard to getting to hear what exactly he said, but at least what I pick is that on the 17th of this month, court has fixed to listen to your current application on the situation that prevails at your house. But now if I were to put to you on the issue of the independent audit that your party and yourself have demanded for about this election, one begs to ask that there is currently a proceeding in the Supreme Court filed by another presidential candidate who believes that this election was not carried out within what should have been the tenets of a free and fair democratic election. One, let's just hear it from you now that we have you on the show. Are you in total support of this process or this prayer that was presented by John Patrick Mambabazi in the Supreme Court? Secondly, you demand for an independent audit. Who, in your view, should do this independent audit? Should it be done under the auspices of the Ugandan law, as it were, or should it be done under the auspices of an international fora? And if so, which one would that be?
Well, first, on the question of the petition before court, now the election petition filed by the Honorable Mama Mbabazi, I think that it is perfectly right that the 2016 election should be the outcome as announced. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, Doctor.
Yeah, I am saying that the outcome of the 2016 elections should be challenged in court. We intended to challenge it in court. We were not given an opportunity to compile the kind of evidence that court requires in such a petition. And don't forget that there is a very small window within which that evidence can be compiled by any candidate, only 10 days. The entire 10 days within which a candidate, and it is only a candidate that can petition the court, the 10 days within which a candidate would petition the court, in which case it is me, the candidate. I was, for the entire period, under detention. And not only was I under detention, but most of our offices were taken over by the police. Up to now, the headquarters of the FDC is under police control. Nobody goes in or out without the permission of the police. And it was ransacked by the police, as you know. That is where we were arrested from, as the results were being announced. So we were not given the slightest opportunity to prepare and present a petition as required under the Constitution. Again, this was in blatant violation of the Constitution, because indeed as a candidate I should have had the freedom and the opportunity to compile whatever evidence I consider necessary and present it to court. Now that having been sabotaged by the military as it was, What we are now demanding is an independent audit. In other words, the audit would have been carried out by court if the court process had been allowed to proceed. We no longer have that option. The Mbabazi petition is different from the petition that we would have filed, because our contention now and since the election has been that we are the true winners of that election. And what we would have been going to court to do would have been to ask court to recognize that Mr. Museveni is not a lawful winner in the 2016 election, and that court should declare who the rightful winner of that election is, who is, to our knowledge and belief, myself. And therefore, what Mr. Mbabazi is now praying for from court is certainly different from what we would have gone to court to pray for. And that is why we want independent audit. Even the court, within the constitutional restrictions that the court has, the court must make a judgment within 30 days. Now we are already talking about 10 days gone, so the court is left with 20 days. The hearing will not begin until 14th, when there is only 14 days within which a judgment must be made. So even within the restrictions of the law, it may not be possible to have an audit of the elections. I hear that there was an application now to check the polling results and the ballot boxes of 43 districts. That in itself, if you want to put it to that, it may take the 2 weeks that the hearing actually requires. So, in the light of all this, it is our considered opinion that an independent audit that is politically agreed upon, this is not one that is provided for under the law. It would have to be a political agreement because of the process that has been imposed by the military and the police rampaging after the results were announced. Now,
I'm sorry to cut you short over there, Dr. Kizza Besigye, but when you talk of a politically agreed, when you talk about a politically agreed position, how would that politically agreed position come into being? Are you talking about the possibility of a conversation between yourself and, say, President Museveni?
No, there would be a political agreement which would indeed enjoin the various parties that participated in this election that we agree to an audit. And we would then set out the terms of reference of the audit, what the audit would cover. And we would commit ourselves to respecting the outcome of that audit. This is not the first place it has been done. Even very recently, there was an independent election audit that was carried out in Afghanistan in circumstances that are fairly similar to what we are going through.
Dr. Kizza Besigye, have there been any inroads in terms of making connections between the various parties that were involved in this election towards that political discussion you're talking about? Can you tell us for a fact if you are having some subterranean interaction with the parties? Has the NRM reached out to you, to be very specific?
Well, the NRM, as I have told you, in this case is still the rogue regime. It's still one that is, defiantly, ignoring the law, ignoring the constitution, and therefore we have not had a discussion on this matter. We have made appeals to the NRM though through various channels, and we hope that the NRM leadership will listen to our calls for a peaceful resolution of the current conflict in Uganda. Let it be understood. I've been hearing many people talking about the need for peace, the need for ending tension in the country. And indeed there is tension. If you see you know, armored vehicles all over the streets. You see the military, the police patrolling all the streets of the country. There is tension. This is not what should happen when there is a peaceful election. This is not what should happen when there is a political consensus in the country. So there is no running away from the fact that there is rule by force as it is now. Now, the way to end that is not for the regime to continue its macho stance. You know, we have the power, we have won elections, we are proceeding. No, the way to proceed would be to engage all the stakeholders, to seek to have a political legitimacy, which arises out of acceptance by people that the election was won by Mr. Museveni. And if Mr. Museveni truly believes that he won an election by that big margin, by over 60%, why wouldn't he accept an independent audit? What happened, which would only serve, in his case, to entrench his win and give him unfettered, you know, legitimacy to govern.
Dr. Kizza Besigye, indeed, gladly we have with us in the studio Mr. Ofwono Opondo, who says for every intent and purposes he speaks for the government of Uganda. Dr. Kizza Besigye has told us that he's made several appeals to the NRM to the fact that you should have a political settlement to all this, and he did in fact allude to what I alluded to earlier on, that macho stance, the kind
who
of...
Who doesn't have a macho stance? Besigye is the one who began with the macho stance. You remember when he began...
Well, we can't now crucify him over what he seems to have realized hasn't gone right, and therefore he's making a passionate appeal.
He must swallow what he has beaten. It is Besigye who began with the defiance. Even in this election, listen, you allowed him to speak for hours.
You know, he's a besieged man, well, you are not, so for you can always come back tomorrow.
Well, he said if he respects the law. What did Besigye say on the eve of election? What did he do on the day results were being released? He prematurely said he had won and was going to announce himself. Even as in his confinement, Besigye has made intention, has said publicly that he's going to announce a parallel government. Are those statements of a law-abiding person, a person who believes in the constitution of Uganda? Besigye has said, calling his supporters to go to, all his supporters to go to the Electoral Commission to collect his results. Is that what a civilized, balanced leader should be doing? So you should not take us for fools. You can take other people for fools. He says, you have barricaded the streets. What is the police for in a state? What is the police for in a country? If the police exists precisely with those armaments, precisely to contain the likes of Besigye.
But I think you're getting his point on that issue out of context. He did qualify his statement. He said there has been a democratic process where a due winner has emerged victor. They would be, the streets would be lined with flag-waving supporters celebrating and not police forces showing
the winner of an election in Uganda is not announced or decided by Kizza Besigye. It is decided by the facts of the law.
And that's the Electoral Commission.
And that's really what we would want Mr. Kizza Besigye to know. Now, I think, with the hindsight, he is beginning to realize the futility. Because Besigye is saying, machism won't work. What has he been saying? I want to put it to him.
Now that he has realized why would you reject it on the basis of the fact that he has himself showed bravado?
I want to put it to him that his bravado will be countered, and is being countered, will be neutralized. Now, if he climbs down from there, then we shall have a discussion, as I said earlier on, has been the standard practice of the NRM. Dr. Kizza Besigye was our NPC. Dr. Kizza Besigye was our NPC for a number of years, and he knows about rapprochement. That policy of rapprochement, the practice of rapprochement, has never been abandoned. But when you say you are the strong man, you are one person who can dare say that it is only you who can declare yourself a president, then we shall call that bluff.
Let me ask you this one. Maybe that would maybe demand a sober answer from yourself, Mr. Ofwono Opondo. You've listened to Dr. Kizza Besigye. He is saying, look, a political settlement or a political understanding, a political conversation ought to take place so that the tension in the country can go down. Isn't that a message that you ought to take with glee?
What is the political discussion beyond the law? Because he has defied the law, he has made intention, he has not disguised it. So this is a false alibi that Mr. Kizza Besigye says a political settlement. As you know very well, Mr. Kizza Besigye has said all institutions of Uganda are not legitimate. He has said Parliament of Uganda is not legitimate or is a rubber stamp. He has said the executive, including the elected leaders, are illegitimate. They don't have legitimacy. I just repeated it here. He has said he doesn't trust the courts of law of Uganda. Why would then anybody believe that Mr. Kizza Besigye now says that a political settlement he would give his word to and he would commit himself to? Because there's not committed.
But there's only one way to find out.
No.
Try.
No.
How will you be dismissive of his
if Mr. Kizza Besigye has shifted his stand, I would implore him perhaps, or those who reach him, to put it in writing that he now commits himself.
It's not those who reach him. You are reaching to him. You are speaking to him.
Let him put it in writing that he now believes in the Constitution of Uganda and he wants to live by it, because all of us, he says, servants of the law. All citizens of Uganda are servants of the law, are subjects of the law, including Mr. Kizza Besigye, not just the police. And so what he demands of the police to do, what he demands of the government and the government officials to do, and the NRM to do, he should likewise subject himself to what the laws of Uganda say. If the laws of Uganda are in any way draconian, unfair, the only way provided for in the Constitution, go to Parliament, seek change.
Mr. Ofwono Opondo,
it is the law.
According to the results released by Dr. Kibundu, over 30% of the registered voters that turned out to vote did vote for Dr. Kizza Besigye and the FDC by
so why would you want to ignore the 60% who voted otherwise?
So do you think that 30% doesn't really make sense for you who took the 60 to the extent that you want to treat them with contempt? I'm
also reversing the question to you. Now, why would you or Dr. Kizza Besigye think that the 60% don't matter?
I'll put it Dr. Kizza Besigye, who is online.
That matter.
Dr. Kizza Besigye, you've just had the response to your statement by Mr. Ofwono Opondo. What would be your response to his response?
Yes, just a few things. First of all, if this Besigye is unlawful, if his actions violate the law, if what he is doing offends the law, take him before the courts. Nobody has ever, I am one citizen that has never been convicted of any offense since I was born. Of course, I have been taken to court numerous times, all of them under the NRM regime. They have even never established a prima facie case, a case to which I have to answer in the very many times that I have been arrested. 40, I think now it's 50 times since the 2011 elections I have been arrested. They have never established a prima facie case to say that I have a case to answer. I have never had to defend myself against anything. So if a regime like that is not persecuting the citizens, then what would it be doing? So what I am saying is I'm certainly available. I am not above the law. I have not committed an offense. If I have, I welcome to be taken to court and charged with a recognizable offense. There is none. Secondly, I have said that the regime is violating the Constitution. Any regime that violates the Constitution willfully is not a regime that is power, with or without an election. It should have nothing to do with being in power. Any president swears to abide and uphold the Constitution. Once you willfully violate the Constitution, you have no legitimacy to be in an office of the Republic of Uganda. I therefore contend that with or without an election, Mr. Museveni should have no business being in the office of the President of Uganda, because he is willfully violating the Constitution that he swore to abide by. Now, having said that, there is no doubt that yes, I believe we have a rogue regime, that the institutions of the state have been corrupted. They are not institutions that are independent, that are competent to run state affairs. And that is why, indeed, the people of Uganda, in their multitudes, the point you were raising, Mr. Kasiate, that even having announced themselves winner, nobody, even as much as peeped through their window to shout a word of congratulation. Nobody. That tells you the kind of victory they are talking about. So the people of Uganda, this is not a matter, they may try to minimize it to being a matter of Besigye. This definitely has nothing to do with Besigye. This has everything to do with a country where the greatest majority of citizens are demanding change, and for very clear reasons. They are tired of 30 years of corruption, 30 years of corruption, which Mr. Opondo knows, that he's having a through and through corrupt regime, a regime superintending of a country where more than 80% of the young people have no jobs, have no hope.
You wouldn't make that point more clear than you have over the so many days that you have been in serious and active political activism. But a very final one from your side, Ofwono Opondo did challenge you to put it in writing that indeed as an individual and as a party you've come to a point of subservience to the Constitution and you are willing to have this political conversation. What would be your very quick response to that challenge?
Thing that I need to put in writing, I am not stepping down from anything. I maintain that we shall win by defiance, by defying a criminal rogue regime. We shall defy it until the people of Uganda prevail. This is not anything that I have to apologize about. It is not illegal for me to say I will carry out a defiance campaign. A defiance campaign is perfectly legal. It is legitimate in these circumstances. And if anybody thinks that by saying I will carry out a defiance campaign that I am breaking the law, the challenge I am putting to them is I am seated here in Kasangati. Take me before a court of law and charge me for the law that I have broken. So a defiance campaign is not illegal, it's not illegitimate, and we are going to defy injustice. The defiance campaign is against injustice. What is happening around my house is injustice, is unjust, is unlawful, is illegal. This is what the people of Uganda must defy. And therefore,
indeed reiterating that you are out to defy until justice prevails. That is Dr. Kizza Besigye coming to us live via Skype from his home in Kasangati, close to Kampala City. Ofwono Opondo, one last second to respond to this as we wrap up the big story this morning. Dr. Kizza Besigye has made it clear to you he is not putting down anything in writing and he is not apologetic about his stance and he will defy until justice comes down.
When he says the people of Uganda, I do believe the 60% plus the other 30% perhaps who did not vote, turn up to vote at all or are not qualified to vote are not animals. They belong to this country, Uganda. This country, Uganda, doesn't belong to Mr. Besigye for whatever he says. Doesn't belong to him alone. It belongs to all of us. And therefore, it's just up to him to realize, to remember that he must strike a balance between his individual right, his individual ego, and the rights and egos of others.
Is this what about Dr.
Yes,
It is about
yes. How come? In this election, we had presidential elections, we had parliamentary elections. How come Mr. Kizza Besigye is not referring to the parliamentary elections as if they did not take place? What explains, for example, the dismal performance of FDC parliamentary candidates that he doesn't refer to? And therefore, it is not up to Mr. Kizza Besigye. He can make allegations about a rogue regime.
By the president.
He can make allegations about a rogue government, a criminal regime. It is up to the courts of law to determine so, not just based.
And he's challenged you. Take him to court if you think that his actions are illegal.
Well, I can now tell you,
please,
we shall continue to confine him until he calms down.
So there is no option for court, but just to
the court will be the final. The court will be the final. Certainly, the court will be the final.
So you will go to court?
Yes, but I can say.
What about one charges?
I can say we shall continue to confine him until we neutralize him, until he comes down to his senses. There was somebody who was making noise here.
Our viewers on NTV, you have seen it. It's a show of bravado. Who has, well, the guts to continue with this stance? A government, if I get Mr. Ofwono Opondo right, is we will continue to incarcerate him until he calms down and regains his senses. Quite very strong statements coming in from there. And on the other side, Dr. Kizza Besigye says, I will continue with this defiance mode until justice is attained. Well, to use the current lingo that goes about when you find yourself with such bulls locking horns, one can only say Zabike. It's been a pleasure hosting you, Dr. Kizza Besigye, from your house in Kasangati. It would of course have been better if you are with us here in the studio, and I hope that one day you will certainly join us to have our usual conversations as we've always had them when you were a free man. For you, Mr. Ofwono Opondo, it's always a pleasure also to have you in here, being the agent provocateur that you are. Clearly, I can see that this conversation is going to take round 2 very soon, sooner than I actually expected it to have. For your viewers, it's been a pleasure having you holding forth here. We continue with our quality programming morning at NTV. Have a tremendous day as you continue with us, as we continue to give you the stories that matter to your lives, that indeed together build this nation. Good morning.